Now, I have seen a lot of players being disappointed with the new Kuva Sobek weapon in the game. The Kuva version is just a straight upgrade to the vanilla variant, and it has a higher critical chance, status chance per projectile, and better total damage compared to the ordinary Sobek. The downside is that it has a lower critical damage multiplier, but honestly, it's negligible, especially when you know the fact that the Sobek is not so dependent on critical builds. I think the reason why players are somehow hating on the Kuva Sobek is that it doesn't have any special features, such as the Tenet Glaxion, which now can chain to 4 targets, aside from the stat upgrades that it has. Like I have said, the Kuva Sobek is just a straight upgrade from its original version, and for those who are still new to the game and don't know how the Sobek works, then I bet they will hate the weapon when they modded it with the usual galvanized status and critical hybrid setup. Another reason why I think players don't like the Kuva Sobek right now is that they expected it to be a decent universal weapon just like the Tenet Glaxion. The new variant of the Corpus weapon allows you to kill any faction in the game, and I can honestly say that it's universally good for almost all missions in the game, especially in Steel Path levels. In addition, it doesn't need any special synergy, and it's universally good while playing with any Warframe. The Kuva Sobek, however, is a special type weapon wherein it scales better with a specific synergy, and the best one to use it with is Sarin with the Toxic Lash build. The Kuva Sobek becomes a different breed of monster when paired with Sarin, and this is one of the best combos you can use with the Warframe. The thing is, Toxic Lash pairs well with the Acid Shell augment of the weapon, and with some additional things that are available right now in the game, the Toxic Lash Kuva Sobek is more potent than ever. Instead of the usual critical and galvanized setup we use for many weapons in the game, the Kuva Sobek scales better with an elemental build that has lots of toxin mods in it. The toxin mods in this build will double dip on Toxic Lash procs by multiplying the Toxic Lash damage and the ABD's damage over time. The best part is, you can select to have innate toxin in the Kuva Sobek, increasing both the Toxin Lash damage and as well as the DOT of the synergy even more. Now, innate toxin is the best element for a Sarin build, but this doesn't mean that this is the only element you can use for the Kuva Sobek. Cold and heat are also a viable option, and a magnetic Kuva Sobek is also good. However, Toxic Lash makes the Kuva Sobek an insane weapon, and like I have said, generic Kuva Sobek builds for universal purposes won't turn the gun into a nuking weapon. Instead, it will be a decent shotgun with decent damage. Even with the Acid Shell mod, the 15 meters corrosive explosion that deals a portion of damage to enemy health will not be as good and effective as a Toxic Lash Sarin. Hence, I stuck with the toxin element, and I only farmed Kuva Sobek to synergize it with my Sarin. Getting back to the build, I also added primed elemental mods, as this will give you higher weapon damage, which then grants increase in both the initial Toxic Lash damage and the final damage over time of the combo. Finally, using a faction mod will triple dip the Toxic Lash toxin procs by boosting your weapon damage, boosting Toxic Lash damage on hit, and boosting its overall damage over time. And of course, adding Roar in our Sarin build will even make the damage insane, resulting to hundreds of thousands of toxin damage sometimes. The best part is that toxin directly attacks the enemy health, which will be great even after the Jade Shadows update that will increase enemy shield regeneration. In addition, the build also has insane viral stacking, and it grants more damage to your toxin. Another thing to add is the synergy of this build with the Emerald Archon Shard. With 2 green Archon Shard, you can increase your corrosive stack to 14, which will then strip all the armor of enemies at max stack, the acid shells, and as well as Sarin spores will allow you to spread corrosive constantly, stripping all armor of enemies and making the toxin damage more brutal. In addition, having something like the Nautilus with the Cordon Precept that can pull enemies within 30 meters allows the acid shells to be more efficient, making the synergy an absolute monster in Steel Path endless missions. The only downside though is that with my current Sarin build with the Kuva Sobek, I'm mostly relying on shield gating and the 1.33 seconds invulnerability. I can survive with this setup as I can spam my abilities, but for those new to this shield gating setup, then you will need to practice on the survivability part of this synergy. Lastly, with the innate toxin element in the Kuva Sobek, I can remove the Toxic Barrage mod and equip the new Nightwave Sobek exclusive mod called Clip Delegation. What this mod does is on reload, the next magazine has a status chance and multi-shot increased by 15% per shot landed with the current magazine. There will be a max 15 stacks, which will result in 225% bonus in both status chance and multi-shot at max. This will be insane for the shotgun, and it would be insane if these buffs will be additive, as it will give the weapon 100% status chance per projectile. This doesn't just make the Toxic Lash synergy more potent, but I think universal Kuva Sobek builds will be decent with this new mod for the weapon. But then again, we still need to test it for ourselves before arriving into a conclusion. Right now, I love the decent increase on the Kuva Sobek, as it makes the better with the Sarin synergy. But then again, I'm also hoping that the Kuva Sobek will be universally used in the future, and I wish that the Clip Delegation augment will be the final piece of the puzzle to make this happen. So that's all about it. Before you leave, we humbly ask that you support us by simply liking and sharing this video. Also, I see that most of you who are watching are not yet subscribed to our channel, so if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you will get all the updates on our latest uploads. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Squad Leader, signing off.